Don't know how much it is.
Now you're giving Tom and me talk about a check.
Yeah.
This is trimethyl aluminum, so this is the next part of the training is just for whoever's loading and unloading the ampules. We won't get into the process. So a lot of the stuff with the ALD is pyrophoric. Means in this case, this will catch fire in the atmosphere. So you can YouTube it, it'll look like napalm. Basically, just pour it out, it'll catch fire till it burns out. So with the L203 process, the TMA will be loaded on source 3A. I'll double check that, but it should be source 3A. And the water, ignore all these wires right now. The water will be the source of the oxygen. So you'll have an AB process. You'll dose in a small part of the TMA. Dose height should be around 30 milliliters. You see it on the graph. The valve will open for around 20 milliseconds. Then you have a purge of about 10 seconds. And then the water, which will be loaded over here, will be put into a similar cycle, around 20 milliseconds, pulse height around 30 milliliters. And that cycle repeats. On aluminum oxide, with 300 degrees on a sample, you should have a film load of 0.84 angstrom per cycle.
Okay.
So that's the chemistry that will be set up for that. If you were, with the TMA, it has pretty high vapor pressure, so you don't have to heat the trimethyl aluminum. If you're going to do like hafnium or zirconium or something like that, that has a very low vapor pressure. So in those cases, you have to heat the ampule. You heat it up to, like the zirconium would be TDMAZ, you heat up to about 75 degrees C. But
How long is that good for? How long is that? Let's say you heated it and then you kind of had a lull in your process. How long would you be fine until you had to reheat that?
you could keep it where it's at.
Okay.
The vapor pressure is directly correlated with the temperature.
Okay.
So if your temperature dropped off, you would get to a point where you just didn't have any vapor. So
Right.
you wouldn't have any deposition. TMA, you don't have to use it. Hafnium, which you may run in the future, or zirconium, for hafnium oxide or zirconium oxide, you have to heat that. With precursors that you have to heat, you have a very small window between where you can have a useful thermal point where you have a good vapor pressure to where you cook it.
Right.
You destroy it. And a lot of times that's only like 10 degrees. So you gotta be careful on the heaters. Now, there are heater jackets that we have, if you're running that later on, and
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Thanks for
Yeah.
that's what the heater jackets are for. And the heater jackets will wrap onto there like that.
Okay.
Now, if you're running a precursor that needs to be heated, this cylinder is a 50 ml cylinder. But depending on how much you order, this might be 10 grams, it might be 25 grams. 25 grams is about half. So your material is down here. What we recommend is not to use the thermocouples that are on the heaters, because up here you don't have any.
Yeah.
That explains the bar or the thermocouples.
Okay.
So we have a PowerPoint, and when you get to that point, what we recommend is to have two thermocouples down here where your material is, and have a third thermocouple taped up here. This way you know exactly what the temperature is, exactly where the material is.
Yeah.
And then these get pressed down, and it comes out the bottom, and they plug in. The ones that come with the heater, we just tie them up, we don't use them. We only use the two that are on here. So that explains why this is here. This was used as our fixtures
see.
whenever we set up the power plant.
Right.
This is actually just water. So, ignoring these, now you understand why they're there. Whenever you order a water ampule, and I believe when we had the teams meeting, I gave you the number for that. If not, I can give you the number again. You can order an empty water bottle or empty ampule at 50 ml and get the valve. I don't know what it costs. Then you could take and put 25 to 30 milliliter using some sort of, cylinder to measure it. We would recommend using DI water.
Right.
But you don't have any DI water in this last one, I understand, correct?
I don't think there's any.
Or you could use,
Would distilled water work okay, or
Glycol.
or is there still too many like
You want the
dissolved ions in it for it to not really work that well?
the iodized actually has more of that than distilled, but what I'm supposed to say is recommend this.
I see. Okay.
That'll last a long time.
Right. Not if I drink it. Just kidding. The most expensive water you ever drink.
Pull that out of your bottle on the airplane.
I wouldn't. I don't drink anything that comes out of a dark bottle. Well, I don't drink anything that comes out of a dark bottle that doesn't have alcohol in it. I'll leave it at that.
Pretty bad.
So you put 25 to 30 milliliters in. So take the valve off. Don't try to feel through here because the orifice is smaller in the valve than the 3/8 opening here. So you take the valve off, you put new gaskets on. They give you 2 stainless gaskets with it. Normally we use nickel gaskets versus stainless gaskets for a simple reason. The valve and the seats are made out of stainless also. Nickel's a little bit softer, and you got less of a chance of damaging the seat over
And
time.
a better crush fit, I assume, right? For the
It's
seal.
about the same, but the force needed is different
Less.
because of the materials.
Right.
Swaytalk recommends whenever you put a new gasket on, 1/4 inch turn. I'm usually a little bit less than that. You can't over tighten the gaskets till they leak. So you don't want to do that either.
Right.
You don't have a leak detector on the system. So I got to show you a different way for whenever we load up the amperes. This has a little bit of water in it. I can hear it by shaking it. So I'm not going to go through the procedure of filling it. It's kind of self-explanatory unless you wanted me to. You just, like you would fill 20, 30 milliliters, anything else.
Is it pressurized at all?
No.
Okay.
But whenever you put the valve back on, you have atmosphere in here. So that needs to be purged out.
I see.
So we'll do a pump purge procedure on the recipe, and whenever we go ahead and put the ampule on between the manual valve and ALD valve, we'll do a pump purge to eliminate the atmosphere there. Then in the water case, we'll eliminate the atmosphere here. Okay, which is a conditioning.
Right.
Conditioning the atmosphere. On the TMA side, you won't have atmosphere here, but they do pack it in glove boxes. So you'll have argon or nitrogen or some other packing gas that's sitting above the TMA. So we'll condition that. We'll do the same check on the loading of it. Do pump purge, get rid of the atmosphere between the manual valve and the ALD valve. And we'll do a conditioning of the ampule itself, and then we'll be able to run chemistry. So we need to do both of them. What I want to do before we get to that point, I'll need about 5 minutes to check something.
All right.
And then whoever's going to be actually installing the ampules and removing them is the people I need to work with next. Or if it's everybody, that's fine too.
Yeah, these are the people who wants to work here.
Okay, yeah, give me 5 minutes. I want to check one more thing functionality wise. And I'll give Noel a call and then I'll be right back with you.
All right.
Because you are going to do